Hey guys, so I just finished watching this really amazing show, which you might know by the title. It's called Stranger Things. It premiered yesterday on Netflix, and I've been waiting for it ever since it's been announced. It was so amazing. Like, even if I feel like even if you're not a fan of like sci-fi or horror, that you would still enjoy it, because I'm not big on like gory stuff, and it wasn't really gory, but the monster kind of creeped me out, and I guess that's the point is for the monster to creep you out. But I was really excited because the way that some people describe it is it being like a mix between 80s Steven Spielberg and 80s Stephen King. I'm more of a fan of Steven Spielberg than Stephen King. No offense to anyone who likes him. I can't do it because his imagery scares the crap out of me. Like, it is one of the movies I cannot watch, and I know they're actually rebooting it as a two-part film, and I'm just like, I can't do it. I really can't do it. It creeps me out so much. But this show, oh my god, oh my god. Like, I watched, I think 5 episodes yesterday, and then I watched the other 3 today, because there's only 8 episodes in season 1, and that's so interesting to me. Like, I really do love, I don't love it, but it worries me sometimes when there's like a show that only has like 8 to 13 episodes, because you're like, you know it's gonna end in a way that it's gonna make you crave more, and that's totally what happened when I literally just finished the finale. But I want to talk about it because there wasn't many things I disliked about it. It was honestly so good all the way through. All the way through. All the characters are so well developed. And to give you a little background on what the show's about, if you haven't watched it yet, go do that. Go do that, because this is about to get really spoilery for you. It's about, so first thing first, I wanted to explain why I really love the show, like what drew me to it. It was because it combined 3 of my favorite things: murder mysteries, supernatural, and 80s. Yeah, I love the 80s. There was a lot of 80s movie music, and actually movies technically, was incorporated into this, and I think that's pretty awesome. But the thing wow, now my brain's going. So but okay, so the show's about this kid who ends up missing, and this show does technically, since it has a feel of the 80s, it actually looks like it takes place in the 80s as well. There's a lot of things about it that you can just tell that this is like a period type situation. So I do believe it's in the 80s. You can talk about the clothes, but just the atmosphere. I think that's what really gives it its charm and really drove the story through. It's about this kid. His name's Will, and him and his friends, they play Dungeons and Dragons, which I can only say I've never played it before, but I have friends who do, and I know a decent amount about it. But anyway, so that's what they usually do, and they've used Dungeons and Dragons as this kind of parallel to what's going on in the story, which is basically the kid Will, he disappears basically on his way home from his friend's house where he was playing Dungeons and Dragons, and his mom panics. Of course, she's played by Winona Ryder, who I love. Like, I see her in so many things, and I always forget what her name is, but now I can honestly say, I'm like, hey, I know who she is. I know who that, whenever someone mentions her, now I know who that is. She plays the mom, and for a large part of this, people think she's crazy, because they think he's dead, or technically, spoiler, they find a body that resembles him quite a bit, and she's like, no, that's not my son, because they believe that, yeah, her son died in a drowning, but that's not what happened at all. And so the story goes along, and basically there's so much these weird incidents happening, where more people keep coming up missing, and even the chief, basically like the sheriff of the town in Hawkins, that's the name of the town, Hawkins, Indiana. At first he didn't want to believe it either, because like, who And of course, these things happen in a small town. That's always the case, isn't it? There's always a small town where this weird shit happens in movies and television. But yeah, I don't want to go too into it if you haven't watched it, but at the same time I do, because I have a lot of feels. I have some things that I'm really upset with about this show. What happened toward the end, I'm just not okay. I think I'm gonna list off my favorite parts first. First of all, the girl, so there's this girl who's involved. She was a part of a science experiment actually, and she has these powers, like she's telekinesis and all that type of stuff. She can move things with her mind. She can kill someone with just by like focusing on what she wants to do, and it's terrifying, but it's so awesome for the reason why she does it. She was basically, it's very implied that she her mother was a part of MK Ultra a couple years back in the story, and her mom is basically comatose. Not comatose, but like she's in vegetable state. Like Will's mom eventually finds her with the chief, and they end up going to see her, and they think she's gonna help. And the woman's sister believes that the woman had a miscarriage, but it's heavily implied that the girl was a science project experiment, that she's her daughter. And I was like, oh my god, like they don't outright say it, but you just know that that's her daughter. And the thing that broke my heart is that they never got reunited, because the little girl she's called 11, but the boys who are in the show, they call her Elle for short, EL. And the thing, yeah, it broke my heart because it appears that she died. That the little girl, she ended up sacrificing herself for the boys and everything. These boys she's come to know. Actually, Will's best friend, Michael, they end up like, basically this story is a coming of age story, honestly. It really is, for like a lot of the cast, a lot of the people in the show. There's a couple different relationships going on, and his with her was, oh, I was like, I'm at least glad they got to kiss. Like, they kissed before she died. Like, not before she died, it was like, I think it was in the same episode before she died, and he was like, I want to take you to the winter ball or some kind of ball, and I was like, oh, that's so sweet. After everything she'd been through, she deserves that. And then she goes and sacrifices herself because she knows she's the only one who could kill this monster. And the monster reminds me of, if you've even seen anything from The Last of Us, there's this zombie that looks like its head sprouts like a flower and it makes that screeching noise. It looks so similar to that. And I wonder if they took inspiration from that, which would be kind of cool. But yeah, that's what the monster ends up looking like when they finally reveal what it really looks like when it's not turned away. But it's like, it's such a good show, and it's so heartbreaking. I started crying episode 3. That's the first time I started crying, was episode 3. Where they discover the body. That's when that happens, at the very end of it, and I just started bawling. Like, a baby was like, no, don't do this to me, I don't want this. And actually, yeah, Elle's like my favorite. She was my favorite, but this is the thing though, they imply at the very end that she might be still alive, and the only reason why I say that, they don't show her, but they show the chief. He goes and lifts this like vent or something, some kind of thing outside, and it's snowing because it's December, it's around Christmas time. And he's at the office party, and he picks up some food in a bowl, and then he goes outside and he leaves the party. He's like, I don't really want to be here, I came for the food anyway. And he basically is like, he like lifts the lid, and he has two Eggos wrapped up, because that's her favorite food. She loves Eggos, like, and she's been isolated, so she didn't really eat food that much, but she's discovered with Michael that she really loved Eggos, and he left that in the bowl in there, and then he closed it. And I wonder if she's still alive somehow, because why would he just leave that there? It's so Oh, I have so many questions about it. And like I feel like in the way they did eventually get Will back from the other place, which is the play is basically like a parallel universe or of the same town, where they ended up finding him. He was, oh, it was so sad when they found him because he had, like, I guess the monster does eat people, obviously, but it seemed like it was using him as a vessel to like keep moving on because he had this thing in his mouth where the chief actually had to pull it out to get him out. But at the end, he was throwing. They were having the dinner. Him, Jonathan, his older brother, and his mom. They were having Christmas dinner, and he he said, I need to go wash my hands. She's like, you have to wash your hands. And then he went to go wash hands. And then they pan to where he's at. And he's choking. And I'm thinking, oh my god, is he sick? And what happens is, he coughs up a piece of that thing that was in him. That was like, he had covered his mouth and was in him. It was like some kind of worm tape. Like a tapeworm. But it was like worse and creepy. It's like it was like basically like a piece of the monster. And I was like, oh shit, they can't leave it like that. What's happening? But so and then another part that I really loved about this was Jonathan, his older brother. His story arc is something that I can deeply relate to. Like, not like, so he's perceived as this like creepy guy who takes pictures and stuff, but that's only because he's not good at like talking and stuff. But he kind of bonds with Michael's sister. He's actually, I feel like it's heavily referenced that he likes her, and well, we do know he does like her. And this is the thing that bugs me about their story arc. They don't get together. And I'm not super heavy into like just flat out shipping things, but they had a connection and both of them realized it, and yet she still ended up with the asshole Jock, who he basically manipulated her a lot in the very beginning. I mean, he turned out okay in the end once he realized what was going on with the monster and everything, how they were working together. And it just bummed me out. I was like, Jonathan deserved to get the girl. Why couldn't y'all let him get the girl? But she got him a present because the Jock actually broke his camera because of an incident that happened, and I don't want to spoil that, but it's pretty big. It plays on the fact that people perceive him as creepy and a perv, but really he was trying to find out more about where his brother was at, and it had led him to where the sister was at the time. And the sister's best friend Barbara actually ends up getting taken by the monster. She doesn't make it, sadly. Barbara was actually one of my other, I loved her, and then they took her from me, and I was like, no! And you don't really find out that she's dead until the end because of the way the monster and the other side work. Or it's not other side, it's called Upside Down. It's called Upside Down. That's the parallel world. It's called Upside Down. And I don't know. It's interesting. What else? Oh yeah, the chief himself. He's not a favorite part, but the thing I want to talk about him is he was working so hard. Once he figured out that the mom wasn't crazy, he was working so hard to get Will back. And he ends up, like at the end, besides the fact that he, the ego thing that I talked about, he got in a car with some people, and I assume he's working for a military operation. We don't know that for sure, but like the people look so important that I feel like now he's working inside his, the town as the sheriff or the chief or whatever they call him. And then you have him potentially working with these other people, and I'm just like, dude, it's just like there's so many unanswered questions now. Like they left it on a cliff, like several little cliffhangers. They weren't huge, but they were big enough for you to want more, and I really want more. Cause yeah, I'm definitely not gonna talk about everything. That would take forever, and I'm pretty sure this is gonna be kind of long anyway. But I don't know. This show I can't say it surprised me because I knew it was going to be amazing by the trailers and everything. I was like, oh yes, this is my jam. This is the stuff that I'm into. And it did not disappoint at all. Like, the music was one of my favorite parts. Like, the opening music, oh, it's so good. It's the instrumental track. And I'm sure they have it somewhere where you can buy it or something. Hopefully they do. I'm going to look around. And if they do, I'm going to put it in the link description because I'm probably going to get it. Ow, I'm talking about coughing up crap. My throat's a little dry. But yeah, I cannot recommend this show enough. And another reason why I was really excited about it, because this show called Collider Nightmares, where they talk about horror genre and sci-fi and all that type of stuff, they were talking about it, and that was another reason why I was getting more and more excited about it, because one of the panelists on there, she had already seen it before it even came out. Like, she saw the whole season because she's in the media or something, or in the medium, and she's a big horror person. And I was like, holy shit! She was talking about how great it was, and I'm like, oh, it's not fair. I want to see it now, and I'm so glad I did. I binged it on 2 days. And now I kind of want to watch it again, but I don't want to cry again because it's like I did. I cried like 4 times while watching this. And I just have a lot of feelings about it. So yeah. So Elle, Jonathan. Actually, I really love the sister whose name is Nancy. Nancy turned out to be a badass. At first, she was like this, you know, the little. That's the part thing that made it a little cliche. She was like the smartest girl in school, and she ended up dating a jock who eventually basically manipulated her into having sex. She lost her virginity. That was a thing. I felt like it wasn't too big of a thing, but it kind of was a thing because I was signed the whole time when that whole plot was going on. I was like, really, you're doing this? It's such a cliche. Please stop. And the thing is, though, I didn't believe for a while. I was like, I still don't believe why she ended up with him. Like, just because that happens everywhere else didn't mean that have to happen. And actually, I believe Jonathan told her when they were kind of arguing with each other because they liked each other so much. Like, it was so obvious that they liked each other. They were just taking the piss out of each other, and he was like, you act like you're like the suburban girl who has to do what every suburban girl does, is to fall for the jock and become like your parents. And I'm like, what? It was such a sick burn, but he was so truth. You could tell he's so truthful about it. And I love, oh my god, Jonathan. And he's like not a more handsome looking guy, but he's like really interesting looking. And the fact that he you know, he did so much for his brother. I don't know, I loved it, guys. I can't stress enough how much you need to watch it. Let's see. I feel like, because it's hard to get into the monsters thing, because it's super layered. It's so layered, the way it's, put together. But, yeah. Yeah, I can't. I can't even. It's just, it's so, and I know I keep repeating that, but it's so hard. It's so hard to like really talk about it. But my feelings are right now is that Mike and Elle, they were a thing. They were basically a thing. And you could tell even at the end after she died, because he saw her die obviously. These are like little boys. They're like middle school kids. And, it was just really sweet. You could tell that he missed her because he had this little place that was in the basement where they did the D&D at, and he had this little section. There was like a mini fort for her where she stayed without his parents even knowing that she was there. And yeah, it was just so sweet. And actually, I loved Will's mom when she was interacting with Elle to like find where Will was. She was so sweet and supportive. Like this. They could have did it where the mom was so angry at the girl because the girl knew where he was, but she couldn't. She was scared, and the mom was so supportive because she got it that this was a little girl who had gone through such a big ordeal. And yeah, that was like one of my favorite scenes. Like I was tearing up while that was going on, because she was there for her while she went to the Upside Down to find out where Will was, or if she could talk to him. And it was, oh god, I can't stress enough about that. Winona Ryder should get a reward for that one, if she, next year, because we already got the Emmy noms or whatever. Also, my throat, something happened to my throat for a minute there. I was about to talk about Winona Ryder's character, and I can't remember what was it. Oh, just in general, like, this story was really, like, this show was really, about moms willing to do anything for their kids. Like, I feel like that was, like, one of the major themes. Like, Winona Ryder's character, Joyce, her name is Joyce. Well, I've never said her name yet. Joyce was literally, she was one of the heart of the show. Every character was super important. No one was insignificant by any means, which I think is amazing, because there's always some characters that fall to the side, and that did not happen. That was something that I really loved. I'm just really hopeful that they get a season 2 out, because, not out, you know, this show just got released, but like, maybe next year, or in a couple, I feel like it has to be next year or the year after, we get a season 2, because there's so many things that we need to know. We need to find out about so much, and I didn't go into a lot because I did spoil a couple things, so hopefully you've seen it if you're watching this. But yeah, if you've seen it, talk to me about all the things, because I seriously want to talk about it all day. It's just it's so amazing. Yeah, it's the best, seriously. Oh, I never got to talk about the music. Well, I did. I talked about the theme music. Theme music is amazing, but they were playing David Bowie during, I believe it was right before they discovered the fake body of Will, and they played Heroes, which is one of my favorite songs. I was like, you're not doing this right now. You are not. You're not playing that fucking song while these boys are doing that, and they found the body, and I'm crying like a baby, and I'm like, no. They did it right, but at the same time, I'm like, no, you can't give me these feels. But yeah, I think that's all I want to talk about for right now. I'm pretty sure when I rewatch, I'm gonna like want to talk about characters specifically, and it's gonna be great. But right now, I'm having so many feels, I can't even wrap my head around it anymore, and it's just, it's the best. Go watch it, or rewatch it. Talk to me all about it, because I love it. It's my life. Now I'm gonna go find people talking about it on Tumblr or something, or go reblog all the things, because it's my life. I love it. It's so good. I need more. I definitely need more. It's like a set of brothers who made the show. They wrote and directed it, and I actually like that, because on Netflix, for Sense8, which is another amazing show you should watch, a sci-fi, it's thriller, and it was made by these, it's either brother or sister, I can't tell, but they're like I can't even pronounce it because it's like a foreign last name. But I think that's cool that Netflix is giving chances for siblings to do things together. Like, that's so amazing. They're really good storytellers too. So, yeah, just let me know what you think, and I'll see you guys soon.